Life is more or less hopeless.
I hope, of course, to find the man of my dreams at some point.
I don't find the building of mosques to be a problem.
For the second time, gfs.bern carried out the Youth Barometer study on behalf of Credit Suisse. In 2011, the representative survey was conducted in Switzerland and for the first time in Brazil and the US.
The generation that has now been surveyed, ages 16 to 25, are young people that place great importance on traditional values. This refers to middle-class values, faithfulness, the dream of being able to afford a house or another form of residential property, but also clearly the concept of a house in itself. Yes, that's just a certain ideal. It's a sign of wealth. You've settled down and have a certain sense of security.
I think I would like to have children at some point in the future, but my career has priority now.
Unemployment and youth unemployment top the list for younger Americans. That is, of course, also due to the relative state of the American economy, in particular the high rate of unemployment and the gloomy future prospects.
It's very scary. I have a couple friends who graduated this year who are unemployed, and it's tough because Georgetown's a top-tier institution and they still can't get a job, so I'm hoping by the time I graduate the market will be a little better.
I think we need to stop hiring people from elsewhere and stop hiring cheap labor. I think we should start hiring our own citizens.
The topic of mobility is noticeably a very important one. American youths are very concerned about the price of crude oil, the limited availability of public transportation, the dependency on private transportation, and also, of course, the politicization of crude oil. Visitors to Brazil will see young people who live in an emerging market economy on the rise. They are focused on typical problems afflicting a country on the path to modernization, including corruption, which is being managed by taking strong measures.
Then
there is also the violence on the streets and the crime, which is something that Brazilian youths experience more often than Swiss or even American youths.
Change is important in politics and in education. The Brazilian education and healthcare system is a mess, and Brazilian politics are not geared towards the problem.
What we would like to see in the country with regard to education and public health ends up being very disfigured and unplanned due to budgets that are diverted or projects that are supercharged, not to mention the loss of trust and credibility we have with our government. What surprised me the most in this study, and what was striking to me in 2010, is the strong xenophobic sentiment among Swiss youths, meaning that they are noticeably influenced by right-wing populism in Switzerland. The portrayal of foreigners as a problem is also a substantial issue in the free newspapers and, of course, online. This has a large effect in determining or defining the political outlook of young people. Otherwise, younger Swiss are very apolitical.
Politik, dass der politische Horizont der Jugendlichen maßgeblich determiniert oder bestimmt. Daneben sind die schweizerischen Jugendlichen sehr unpolitisch.
I find it unfortunate that such xenophobic attitudes against foreigners exist even in Switzerland. I believe that it is a defense reaction, a reaction to all the changes taking place in our time. People fear losing their identity, their own culture, and the social cohesion.
Das Zweite ist, dass Toleranz.
Tolerance from a religious perspective or that a religious upbringing brings about a higher degree of tolerance, meaning that the loss of religion, the relative insignificance of religion, which in particular can be observed among younger Swiss who now use the services of major denominations only for major life events, such as birth, marriage, and death, and that this loss of religion also brings about a lower level of tolerance. leading to Swiss youths being the most conservative with regard to religious freedom.
Nach sich zieht, so sind die schweizerischen Jugendlichen in Bezug auf die Glaubensfreiheit am restriktivsten.
In my opinion, religions should be based on the law. This means kosher slaughter should clearly be forbidden. Otherwise, people should be able to do as they please.
I have the feeling that many people in rural areas still have fairly rigid ways of thinking, and I hope that people become more open-minded in these areas.
Und schließlich finde ich überraschend für Jugendliche.
And finally, I was surprised to find that young people are not concerned with sexual affinities or sexual adventures and view these as marginal. We are dealing with a conservative youth that attaches importance to middle-class values, family and marriage. That could change, however. We know that there was a different type of youth in the 70s and 80s, and that there will again be a different type of youth in the future.